In this video, I'll be running through the importance of a thoughtful and intentional retention strategy in support of your paid media new customer acquisition. Repeat customer revenue has a higher margin than new customer revenue. And the reason why that's the case is because the cost to acquire a new customer is always going to be significantly higher than the cost for you to go and get an existing customer to buy from you again. And so let me break this down with an actual real financial example from a client. This client has about a total monthly recurring revenue of $200,000, and that broken down from new customers to returning is they sit at about $140,000 in new customer revenue per month, which is driven by $50,000 in advertising costs. And then returning customer revenue sits at about $60,000, and that's driven by $2,500 in costs. Now that includes an agency cost as well as the list costs for Klaviyo. If we then look at cost of delivery, which is 50% for this client, so this includes cost of goods sold as well as any shipping costs and associated 3PL fees, it comes out to about $70,000. In this instance, because of $60,000 in revenue, the cost of delivery comes out to $30,000. Now, bottom line sits at 20 and 27.5 if we exclude fixed expenses. So in this example, even though returning customer revenue is half, in fact, even less than half of new customer revenue, there's actually more profit in the returning customers than there is in the new customers. Now, there's an important caveat here to mention, which is the fact that returning customer revenue is only possible if you drive new customer acquisition. So it all starts here and then you can unlock that. But it is an important understanding to have when you're looking at your financials and the way that you're splitting up new customer revenue versus returning customer revenue. So having a retention strategy that maximizes repeat purchasing results in a significant unlock in profitability. And I want to take this one step further in this example. So if we were to get rid of returning customers for this brand, and we were to then assume $15,000 in fixed costs, which is pretty reasonable for a $140,000 D2C e-com business, total net monthly profit would be sitting at $5,000. Now, if we go and add the returning customers back in, the first thing that you'll notice is top line revenue grows by 43%, which is fantastic, but bottom line monthly profit grows by 450%. And so you see about a 5.5x in bottom line profit with only a 1.4x in top line revenue. And the reason that happens is because returning customer revenue is incredibly profitable because of the low costs associated with driving that revenue. So retention is actually not a revenue strategy, but it's a profit strategy. If the goal is rapid, profitable scaling of paid media customer acquisition, the best way to do this is by having a dialed in retention strategy because it allows you to compound the rate of growth within paid media by having larger inventory orders and reinvesting more heavily into your paid media spend month on month, with that additional $27,500 that's suddenly been unlocked in free cash flow. So being thoughtful in the approach here is also incredibly important. Most founders or marketing leads end up running the math that I've just run you through over the course of the last 5 slides, and then they decide that they need to squeeze as much revenue as possible out of their existing email list. And the way that they end up doing this is by sending sale and discount emails. And the reason why they do that is because it's what works. If you send out an educational email, a reviews-based email, and then a sales email, the sales email will always drive the most revenue. And so naturally, that is the path that most e-com founders, e-com marketing leads go down. This is not what we recommend for. We recommend being thoughtful in your approach and looking long-term. It's incredibly destructive to your brand if you're constantly sending out sale emails. Number one is your loyal customers that are within your existing list are typically willing to pay full price anyway. So if you're going and trying to entice them back by discounting, you're cutting margin out of customers that were going to buy regardless. Number two is your brand starts to build a reputation for being a discount brand. And number three is your emails start to become disinteresting, which leads to low open rates and high unsubscribe rates. So instead, if you sell a consumable product, you want to be focusing your EDM and your retention strategy around encouraging the consumption and the usage of the product. If someone has the product at their house, you want to be ensuring that they're actually using it, consuming it, so that they can go and repeat buy. If you sell a non-consumable product, we want to be educating with relevant content that positions us as a thought leader and continues to build brand equity with the existing customer base. So what that would look like is constant reviews, testimonials, call outs to any media pieces that you've been featured in, alongside actually educating around the space. If you were selling stand-up desks, for example, you would be educating around the benefits of standing for X periods of time relating to latest studies that have been released. If you start to go down that path, number one, you begin maximizing the margin on your loyal customers. Number two, your brand builds a reputation for being a thought leader in the space. And then number three, your emails start to become interesting and engaging and insightful, which leads to higher open rates and low unsubscribe rates. So when you eventually do go and push an offer, whether that's from Black Friday, a new product launch, the list goes on, it's actually going to be clicked, opened, and consequentially converted on. Most founders or agencies really just, at the end of the day, can't be bothered doing this, as there isn't an instant ROI on education-based emails, but it ends up paying enormous dividends in the long term. So to summarize this video, we talked about how repeat customer revenue has a considerably higher margin than new customer revenue due to the fact that there's much lower overhead costs. We ran through a financial example that showed that retention really is a profit-driving strategy rather than a revenue-driving strategy. We talked about how that can unlock exponential scaling, as if you can unlock this additional cash flow, you can reinvest into paid media a lot more rapidly. And then we talked about how you don't want to do this the wrong way, by going and spamming out sale and discount emails, and you instead want to be building brand equity and building a thought leader position within your niche and marketplace through educational and consumption-based content.